Welcome to the next installment in my video lecture series in economics. And in this particular video lecture, I'm going to be taking a look at an algebraic approach to intermediate microeconomics. In particular, this is going to be a homework question that was problematic for some of the class, so I thought it would be useful to have a video exposition on the topic. So suppose that the demand function for aluminum is QD equals 100 minus 0.2p, where p is the price paid by consumers in dollars per pound, and Q is the quantity demanded measured in pounds. The supply curve for aluminum is estimated to be QS is equal to 0.2p. Calculate the equilibrium price and quantity. So as we know, the equilibrium occurs where the demand and supply functions are equal to one another. So we set them equal to one another. So we have 100 minus 0.2p is equal to 0.2p. We add 0.2p to both sides, which gives us 100 equals 0.4p, and dividing by 0.4 gives us p equals to 250. It's equivalent to 250. Excuse me. So we need to get the equilibrium quantity. So what I always tell students to do is to place that price into both the supply and demand functions. Doing so, you should get the same quantity, and in doing that, you're checking to see if you calculated the price correctly. So there is our demand function, so we can just stick 250 in where P is. So we get QD is equal to 100 minus 50, QD is equal to 50, and do the same thing on the supply side, and that also gives us QS is equal to 50. So since we've gotten the same quantity for QD and QS at that price, we know that we calculated the price correctly. So the initial equilibrium is going to be price is equal to 250 and quantity is equal to 50. Now we're going to change this by introducing a $20 tax per pound on aluminum. We want to know how the equilibrium quantity and price has changed and what is actually paid by consumers and received by suppliers. In this one, I'm actually going to place the tax on the demanders of the product. So now we have that the demand function is equal to 100 minus 0.2p multiplied by p plus 20. This is reflecting the fact that consumers are going to be hit with the tax and they are going to pay a higher price because of that tax. Think of it as that they're including the tax as the total price of that product, and we're making that equivalent to the original supply curve. We multiply that 0.2 through, which yields 100 minus 0.2p minus 4 equals 0.2p. We subtract that 4 off there, gives us the 96, and then when we add 0.2p to both sides, we get 96 is equal to 0.4p, and we divide by 0.4 through, and we get p is equal to 240. Realizing that that's the equilibrium price, consumers are still responsible for the $20 per pound tax, so they're paying $240 in the marketplace plus the $20 tax, so the total expense of buying that aluminum per pound is equal to $260, and the suppliers are just receiving the equilibrium price in the marketplace. And determine what the new equilibrium quantity is. We can put that equilibrium price into the supply curve, which yields a Q of 48. Alternately, you could have placed the tax onto the suppliers of aluminum, which I am doing here. You can see now I've modified or I've adjusted the supply curve to include the fact that the suppliers are going to be receiving a lower price. Their price is going to be less the $20 tax. So this is what the new supply curve looks like when the supplier is taxed at that rate. We multiply that 0.2 through the brackets here, and we get 0.2p minus 4. We add 4 to both sides, and then we add 0.2p to both sides, which yields 104 equals 0.4p. We divide both sides by 0.4, and the new price is equal to 260. Consumers pay the 260, which is the equilibrium price, but the suppliers receive the equilibrium price less the $20, so they receive 240 when the tax is placed upon them. And what we do is we take that new equilibrium price after the tax was imposed on suppliers, place that into the demand curve, and that gives us a Q of 48. So hopefully that is of some benefit to you, particularly if you had difficulty answering that question on the homework assignment. Make sure if you're still having difficulty, watch this again. It will be very helpful showing you step by step how to work through this particular problem.